Welcome to Story Joy. I'm Michael, and today I'm joined again by Anjori.
Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be joining again.
Yes, nice to have you back. And given what we did on Frankenstein before, some sort of gothic horror, we're sort of back.
Yes.
With some more gothic work.
My favorite genre.
Yes, exactly. So what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights that just came out on Valentine's Day. We went and saw it on Valentine's Day, and it's been tearing up the internet. So
Yes, it's definitely a lot of attention, so it seemed like a timely opportunity to take a look. It is a classic, though, because it's based off of, I think we looked it up, 1847 novel.
Yes, the 1847 novel by Emily Brontë. I read it in college. Anybody that did an English literature degree probably read it in college. And, it's had a ton of adaptations since. This is the latest one.
And so broadly speaking, what is Wuthering Heights about?
So Wuthering Heights is this book that Emily Brontë wrote when she was quite young. She died at 30. I think it came out when she was 29, so she wrote it throughout her 20s. In my opinion, it's really a family saga, a little bit like some of the stuff Dickens did, like Bleak House, with a lot of different characters covering a large span of time. I mean, I think it covers, the book itself covers probably about 20, 25 years.
Right.
Beginning with certain characters being very young up until they're adults. And it talks about basically these two families, the Earnshaws and the Lintons, and a lot of sort of generational trauma and inheritance and class, and a lot of themes about that kind of thing. But the thing everybody knows Wuthering Heights for, and the thing that this movie focuses on, is a love story, a central love story in the book,
right?
Which affects basically everything else that goes on in the novel, which is between Catherine Earnshaw, who is one of the main characters in the first half of the book, and Heathcliff, who is a main character throughout the book. Their love story is a thing that is probably the best material for adaptations and the one that you see all the time. Essentially, the book is about them meeting as children. Heathcliff is a foundling that Catherine's father finds on the streets, brings him home, basically adopts him. They're, I want to say, like 10 or 11 years old at the most. A lot of the book is devoted to them growing up together in this very rural, isolated area. Eventually, Catherine's father dies. Her older brother takes over the household. He's very abusive towards them both, particularly to Heathcliff, reduces him to being a servant. Time passes for reasons that we're going to get into as we discuss the movie. Catherine, despite being very much in love with Heathcliff, marries a local aristocrat named Edgar Linton, who is basically a member of the only other family in the area, and they're very wealthy. Heathcliff is heartbroken, basically runs away. They don't see each other for years. He returns having had a Count of Monte Cristo moment. He's suddenly extremely wealthy, and Cathy is shocked to see him again. She finds herself basically in a mess because she's married to somebody else. They kind of carry on an affair. It sort of depends how you interpret the book. They're certainly still in love with each other. That becomes sort of an all-consuming thing. Eventually. And then this is where, most people don't know the second half of the story, but, very quickly, eventually Catherine dies. Heathcliff lives. Edgar, survives her. Catherine had a child. Heathcliff has a child. There's a whole second act, about those children growing up. And, Heathcliff's grief for Catherine and who inherits which property and all of that stuff. But, it's a very expansive book.
So I haven't read the book, for those who don't know. And hearing you describe the book, I can already tell that there are some major changes made in the film adaptation that we watched. So overall, how did we feel about the film?
I went in with very low expectations. So
okay.
I'll preface this entire podcast by saying I am very annoying English student still. And I'm really a purist when it comes to adaptations of classic literature. So I went in, I knew what Emerald Fennell was doing from all the media I'd seen. I knew it was only going to be an adaptation of half the book. I knew that she tends to really go for vibes over substance. So I went in with no expectations. I actually really liked the movie for what it is. right? Not as an adaptation.
It's a qualified review.
Not as an adaptation of the book so much as something that really evokes a mood and a certain interpretation and the relationship between these characters. And this is where Emerald Fennell, the director and screenwriter, comes alive in her work. She's not going to do really nuanced portrayals of character. What she does do is these amazing big set pieces. So there's these beautiful images throughout the movie, and I really liked that. I thought the acting was really good. We'll talk about the casting in a little while, but I thought the acting was excellent. I think there were scenes which were genuinely moving. The movie really made an impression on me. Like, I thought about it later, which I don't for a lot of other movies. So for a movie that I don't think, on its own is a fantastic movie, there are parts of it that I think really achieved what any artist wants to do, which is make an impression and make you think about it.
Yeah, and I come from a completely different place because I haven't read the book. I didn't know anything about the director. I didn't know the plot other than my understanding at the time was some sort of tragic love story. That was kind of it going into it. But the Monte Cristo moments definitely resonated because I have read that novel, the abridged and the unabridged version, with like the 1,000 characters or whatever that's in it.
Yeah.
So there are elements that's like, oh, I know this plot.
Right.
I was like, okay, so, we joked about it. At the time, I was like, so let me guess. He's going to be in some prison. There's going to be this old guy that's going to tell him about, all this wealth on some random island. Now, of course, in the film, it's not clear that happens. We don't get any explanation really whatsoever in terms of how Heathcliff makes his money. I thought the film was fine. It's not something I'd go back for.
Yeah.
I thought that there were acts in the film and moments that were really good. I thought that it's funny that we're watching yet another film with Jacob Elordi in it.
Yes.
I felt like he did a very good job, right? I liked his portrayal. It was emotive. It had an impact on me. I struggled more with Margot Robbie's portrayal of Catherine. We talked about casting. There is an age difference between them, but also they're both older than either of the character in the books.
Yes.
Jacob Elordi doesn't really pass his 19 or whatever it is.
Yeah, they're I looked it up. They're like 16 or 17. Which they're both way older, and they look like it.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't work. This is not to throw shade at either of the characters in terms of aging, all that sort of stuff. It's just from an age perspective, and we talked about this in Frankenstein. The character was originally quite young, the late teens, early 20s, but they cast someone clearly in his 40s, and they then had to rewrite a lot of it there. Here, you really can't because these two grow up together, right? And we have to see them when they're younger, but they don't really look any different when they are supposedly older. And so it's tough to track, I think, age, and it did pull me out a little bit because I just had to accept that, Margot Robbie was playing somebody who was younger than what she looked like. Yeah. And even Jacob Elordi, even though, because there is an age gap between them as well, like in real life, he still looks older than his character's supposed to be. Yeah. So it's like a small thing, but actually it was also kind of a big deal for me in terms of just pulling me out. Yeah. I thought there were lots of good moments. On the whole, I'm not a big fan of the director's style. I think it's vapid. And it's like, you can tell that she believes, because it's very sort of self-congratulatory.
Yes,
in terms of how she approaches it.
I actually agree with you, yeah.
So you can tell what she thinks of herself and her work. And I was like, look, this isn't bad, but don't, get ahead of your skis here. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah. And you think this is a big moment, and you're doing this grand way, and this is like peak filmmaking. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, there are better approaches to what you're trying to do here. There isn't quite fan service, which I was mostly pleased with. Yeah. But there's a lot of, you're not quite breaking the fourth wall, but the director's trying to put a lot of herself in there and communicate something about her through the film. Yes. And I don't appreciate that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because I think there's a slight ego in this type of filmmaking. For those of you who've seen Saltburn, you'll know this is what Emerald Fennell does.
I haven't seen that, so I don't have that reference point.
Right, but she takes these big themes and she does them in a very stylish way. But I think I just said, the nuance of character is not her thing. Right? It's big, it's showy. You can even see in the way that Wuthering Heights is being marketed right now. I just drove past Bergdorf Goodman on my way here, and they're selling like clothes with like quotes from the novel.
All right.
You know? So it's a little bit of an ego fest, and unfortunately it shows in the way she directs.
As a period piece, it feels generic. It's difficult to place it, I think, where it's supposed to be. It's vaguely Victorian.
Yeah. I think there's just no attempt to try to be period accurate, which I have some respect for. I'm fine with when directors do that. But, you know, it's other adaptations are very period accurate. Anything by the BBC, you know, for example, is going to be very accurate. Here, the costumes are everywhere. You know, the dialogue is everywhere. It's supposed to be, I think, timeless. I think that's what she's going for.
Now that, because you explained a lot of some of the changes to me, I think making the father, and we'll talk more about him later, different, I think, and not having the brother involved in it all, right, is cut out, I think, entirely. Those changes, I don't think, made it for a stronger story. It made for a simpler one.
Yes.
But I don't think it was stronger for it.
Yeah.
I also don't understand the intro scene.
I hated the intro scene.
It's totally disconnected. It's just shocking.
It's there for shock value. I hated it. It's cheap. It's just there to like get attention, to be talked about. It has nothing to do with the rest of the story. I hated it so much.
And it's not a short film. It's not the longest out there, but it's a solid 2+ hours for a scene that does zero for the story.
Zero to the story.
Like, cut that 3 or 4 minutes out and just let us be on with whatever we need to be on with.
Yeah.